just shut up and let me enjoy this pain. I don't want anything to numb it. I don't want anything right now. Because what I had done was I just, in my mind, and people will take this wrong and take it as wrong as you want to, I don't really care. I had just climbed a mental wall that was amazing. And I didn't want anybody to take that pain away from me at that point, because that was all confirmation.
If there was a big meta indicator that you're doing the right thing, doing what everyone isn't doing is already probably the single biggest indicator that you're doing the right thing. Like if I could wish nothing else on my child whenever I choose to have them in the future, is that they have high agency, which is that they make decisions independent from the opinions of other people. And when we hear words like authentic and original and things like that, it's because the person starts at square one and says, well, what do I want?
So many of us come from these small places in our mind that we're not willing to think outside of only what we've seen. Our mind works in such a small compartment. And one thing I was able to do was to dream. Many people, but don't make dreams your fucking master. But I was able to dream outside those fucking four walls of that small town. And until you're able to really put yourself into that dream, but don't make dreams your master, that's where you truly become what you're destined to become.
What do you mean, don't make dreams your master?
A lot of people sit back and they dream about being a sports figure, or dream about being a SEAL, or dream about being an astronaut. And all it is a motherfucking dream. They don't put the work behind the dream. That dream has become their fucking master. When you become the master of your fucking dream is when you say, I want to go be a Navy SEAL. And you say, okay, I'm going to lose 106 pounds in less than 3 fucking months. The dream was the one thing I thought about, and the dream was now gone. Now, when it comes in, the dream goes away, and the fucking laundry list of fucking details and tasks come up. Gotta do this, gotta do this, gotta do this, gotta do this. That's when you become the master of your dream. So, a lot of people out there dreaming.
And that was when, like, the reality of the situation of, like, there was no escape. There was no one who was going to come to save me. And I couldn't blame my dad. I couldn't blame my mom. I was the one who had chosen this life. But the alternative was that I had to go back to my father, a failure, and have him looking in the eyes and say, I told you. And come here, don't worry. I told you this gym stuff, this fitness stuff, this starting out, it's for later. It's fine. Just go back. Hey, you've got this great degree. Just go to the business school, do the thing. And I knew exactly what had happened. But what would have happened after that is that for the rest of my life, he would have had absolute authority over everything that I did. And that felt like death. And so that was what I ran away from when I was in that moment. Like, whenever I felt like my back was against the wall, I didn't know what to do. It felt like the Instagram reels of, like, the motivation weren't going to get me through what I was going through, because no one cared that I was sleeping alone. I let them know I'm sleeping on the floor. And a month later, when you're still sleeping on the floor, everyone's like, don't care. Like, great. You're pursuing your dream, right?
I love this game. I live this game. There's 1,000 other guys waiting in the wings who are obsessed with this game. Obsession's gonna be talent every time. You got all the talent in the world, but are you obsessed? Is it all you ever think about? Let's face it, it's you against you out there. When you walk on that court, you have to think, I am the best guy out there. I don't care if LeBron's playing.
At the end of the day, I ask myself one question: can I take one more step? And usually the answer is yes. So if you can answer that question and not take another step, that is real failure. That is real quitting. So a lot of people can take one more step, they choose not to. I don't know if you can take 2 steps. You got to answer that question after you take the first step. But I can always take one more step. So if I choose not to, that's on me. And I got to live with that. It's time to get back to work. Stop hearing yourself talk. Get off the podcast. Don't be on social media too much. Cut out all the fucking noise. Get back to the fucking mental lab.
It seems like, especially with confidence, right, or self-esteem, there's a relationship between confidence and competence. Mm-hmm. So what you're looking to do is try and have what you believe that you can do be ahead of what you can do. Right. Now, you're not looking for it to be delusional. You don't want it to be able to believe that you can do something like fly, right? But you need to have a relationship between the two. But what people are asking for is for their confidence to be so far ahead of their competence that, or without having even been competent at anything in the beginning. And that's just delusion. That's fantasy.
And one of my favorite ones is I say this all the time to Layla, like whenever we're getting to some sort of like mini complaint. It's like, you know, if you zoom out far enough, you can't see the earth. So we're talking about like, oh man, they're going to mess up this order on this vendor's, blah, blah, blah. I was like, you know, if you zoom out far enough, you can't see the earth. It's just like, it just puts everything immediately into perspective of how ridiculous some of the things that we're concerned about are.
There's some internal drive that you either have or don't have. And if you have it, you won't quit. And if you don't have it, you're going to quit.
You don't have to feel good about it. You just have to keep going. Feeling will pass, but you will remain. You are greater than your feelings. Going to bed late and waking up early to work for a few days won't kill you. You're not going to burn out. You're doing what it takes. If you're one of those people that push work-life balance, just remember, the people who like working a lot don't care. I've never regretted trying harder at anything ever. Hard times last long, but an epic story feels like a lifetime. Talking about the thing and doing the thing, vie for the same resources, allocate yours appropriately. That's the way it works as well. That's the way that the brain works. You can actually get these kicks of dopamine by telling your friends about, I'm going to be a Navy SEAL, I'm going to start my training next week, it's going to be great, I'm going to feel like this.
Feels good. It feels good to talk about that shit, man. It actually makes you feel good, makes you feel proud, all that shit. Guess what happens when that alarm clock goes off at 4 a.m. to train? I don't want to be a SEAL today, or I don't want to be whatever today. I'll start tomorrow. And that's the usual pattern of people's lives. That's why I talk about clearing out the mind. Until you really want to do something, you're always going to be a talker. You're always going to run your fucking mouth.
One of my direct subordinates, one of my guys that worked for me, he would call me up or pull me aside with some major problem, some issue that was going on. And he'd say, boss, we got this and that and the other thing. And I'd look at him and I'd say, good. And finally one day he was telling me about some issue that he was having, some problem. And he said, I already know what you're going to say. And I said, well, what am I going to say? He said, you're going to say good. He said, that's what you always say. When something is wrong and going bad, you always just look at me and say good. And I said, well, when things are going bad, there's going to be some good that's going to come from it. Didn't get the new high-speed gear we wanted? Good. Didn't get promoted? Good. More time to get better. Oh, mission got canceled? Good. We can focus on another one. Didn't get funded. Didn't get the job you wanted. Got injured. Sprained my ankle. Got tapped out? Good. Got beat? Good. Unexpected problems? Good. We have the opportunity to figure out a solution. That's it. When things are going bad, don't get all bummed out. Don't get startled. Don't get frustrated. If you can say the word good, guess what? It means you're still alive. It means you're still breathing. And if you're still breathing, well then hell, you still got some fight left in you. So get up, dust off, reload, recalibrate, re-engage, and go out on the attack.
This world we live in is tough. It's tough. It will beat you down. The world and the life that we live in is the ultimate competitor. It will try to take you out. It will find your weakness and it will fucking just hammer you.
It's like a personal curse.
100%. So if I can help you build belief, build confidence to the point where nothing can hurt you because you know exactly who you are. You've faced your demons. You've been able to go on an audiobook in your mind. Maybe you didn't write a book, but in your mind, you were able to hear all your past traumas. You were able to listen to them. You're able to fucking say, okay, now I can now talk to people about what I went through. I'm no longer embarrassed. I'm no longer ashamed. Being ashamed is one of the biggest things that kill people nowadays in their minds, kill them from moving forward. I'm ashamed. Don't ever be ashamed of anything you've done in your life. Face it, fix it, make it better. We are humans. But then again, if you always think that we're humans, you will always just be a human and always make the same fucking mistakes. You must take this knowledge that you learn from all this shit is knowledge. So I'm just trying to give people that strength to go in the archives of your life. Because while you're probably fucked up, it's probably something happened to you in your life. Go through the archives, dig it up, study it, and then use it for yourself. That's the main purpose for me right now.
If I'm in the woods, which is where you are right now, you're in the woods and you don't know where to go because the wife's not there anymore, the job's not there anymore, you don't know where to go right now. So if you're in the woods and you don't know where to go, start walking. You got to start walking because the perspective's not going to change. You have to start moving forward. You have to start taking steps in order to improve your vision, improve your perspective, change your perspective, make some kind of progress. And worst case scenario, you figure out that you walked the wrong direction. Okay, now you can go walk in the other direction. And that's going to be fine. But standing there lost and not doing anything is just waiting to die, waiting to starve to death. Don't let that happen.
Every single person who wants to do something with their life and has done something with their life has gone through the exact chapter that you're going through. And it's the lonely chapter. It's the chapter where you don't fit in with your own friends, but you don't have the outcomes yet to fit into a new group of friends. And you're doing this thing, you're consuming content on the internet, you're doing these free tutorials online to try and figure out how to set up a podcast and where do I host this thing? And then you're going through this and you're like, is this even worth it? Because you have no signs of success, right? But if there's anything that you can take away from what we're saying right now is that the sign of success is the hate that you get along the way. And what you can't do is bend the knee to their hate and fit back into the conformity because it's comfortable and it's warm.
Failure has been achieved, thank God. Now, the only place to go from failure is to win. You have to achieve failure. You have to take it that far. Nobody wants to go that far. It's too scary. But you know something? I got news for you. That's where winning is. It always has been.
You have to have a dog in you. And so you have to have, like my grandfather called it, a stiff upper lip. You better have a stiff upper lip. So, yeah, she has some dog in her. She has to. There's no other way to make it out here. I mean, you can't just always be, head down in the sand. You got to learn to pick yourself up on your own. A lot of times these fights and these battles, you got to be your own fucking coach. You got to be your own motivator.
People are driven way more by fear of insufficiency than they are with some well-balanced, perfect desire to just maximize their greatness in life. Like the activation energy for almost everybody is, I'm scared I might be a piece of shit. What? Hang on. Oh God, I might be a piece of shit. I genuinely might be a piece of shit. I need to go and do something so outrageous that I can't be a piece of shit. There's no way that it could happen. I might be a coward. Oh my God, what can I do to stop myself from being a coward? That's the activation.
It's funny because if you regress fear to its most basic form, it's death. And death is the greatest motivator. And like you can prove it in a simple example. It's like if I all of a sudden go up to anybody on the street and I put a gun in their head and I say, point a gun at their head and I say, go do this thing, they'll go do it. But if I say, you can have anything you want if you do this, they're willing to go 10 times harder with a gun in their face to not die. And so if you take fear and regress it all the way down to its basis form, like that's what the insecurity is. Like if they think I won't be enough, and if they don't think I won't be enough, then this won't happen. If this won't happen, this won't happen, I'll be alone, I'll be dead. Right? Like if you just regress it all the way down, like that's all it is. And so like the biggest achievers in life, I think have most directly tied them not doing whatever it is that they want to do to death, whether they're consciously aware of it or not. And then that's what motivates them harder.
Hey. Train, study, work, practice. Train, study, work, practice. Train, study, work, practice. And eventually, you will increase your confidence.
Everybody else feels, or to me, it always seems like everyone else has got it together. Because I get to see only what you choose to say, only what I'm around you doing that I get to see, whereas I get to observe my own inefficiency and foibles 10,000 times a second, right? I get to watch the texture of my own mind be completely unresponsive and useless. I see every single prideful decision, every single lie that I tell myself, every single time I make a promise and don't keep it. But I don't get to see that from everyone. So I'd always presume, because of this asymmetry, that everybody else had it sorted and I didn't. And it also made me think that everybody else's opinion was this perfectly balanced, well-researched, beautifully. They had me nailed down to a T. What they were telling me was the truth.
Right.
They could see something in me that I couldn't.
Right.
And after a little bit of time and a good bit of building up of self-confidence, I realized that that's not the case.
No.
Imagine, if you will, being on your deathbed and standing around your bed, the ghost of the dreams, the ideas, the abilities, the talents given to you by life, you, for whatever reason. You never pursued those dreams. You never acted on those ideas. You never used those gifts. And there they are standing around your bed, looking at you with large, angry eyes, saying, we came to you. And only you could have given us life. And now we must die with you forever. And the question is, if you died today, what dreams, what ideas, what leadership, what books, what gifts will die with you?
If you think back to all the negative situations you had, like the really, really bad ones, when you expand the time horizon, most times they become net wins. And so then it just means that, like, if you're in a really tough time right now, you just gotta wait. and then you'll get your reference point back on all the things that changed as a result, because most times when shit is bad, it can't get worse. So then you feel like, well, it can't get worse than this, and then your action threshold decreases, and you do all the things you know you should have done anyways. And so it's like we have this big stack of should do's, and we just wait until it's 2 miles.
Yep.
And then you're like, you just
I'm getting
like,
in the car.
like the firing conversation, and you're like, well, I just fired one person, or like I just ended one partnership, I just broke up with one girl, or whatever it is, and you're like, who else do I need to talk to today? Right? Like, and then in like you have these rapid periods of growth that happen, and then you have the next web of comfort because it's way better than you were before. And I think I wonder, this is more just like an open thought, but like I wonder how long like more successful people stay in that next plateau. Like I wonder if their threshold for
Action stays low.
Yeah, they're I'm getting comfortable. Like how quickly they get comfortable into like I need to change, I need to get better.
Mental toughness is a perishable skill. Just because you went through some training once and you got through it doesn't mean it lasts fucking forever. And that's where most people hated me in my life, because I realized that. You don't just say, oh, I got it, I'm checked off, I'm good for the rest of my life. That's why you have to recall. You recall on fucking everything. And you definitely must recall when it comes to the mind. That is one of the biggest requalifications you must have. And when you're at that level, you got to recall every fucking day, not once a year.
The most dangerous man in the room is never, ever, ever the loudest man in the room. The loudest man in the room is the most insecure man in the room. And that's why they put off so much flash and vibe.
A man is as he thinketh. God created us in his image. God thought of this world. He thought of it. So he created it. So he made you just like him, that your thoughts can create things. You get to decide if I'm gonna be rich, poor, mediocre, plentiful, happy, sad. You have a decision to make. Your mind, all right, here we go. This is the teaching moment. Let me give you this so you can get on with your 2019. You walk in the house, you pick up the remote control. Let me teach you how this works. And you press the power button. When I told you 2019 will be the best year of your life, but you have to claim it. You have to expect it to be the best year of your life. You have to live your life with the expectation that great things are coming your way. And that's how it works. Now let me teach it to you. You grab your remote, you press the power button. What do you expect to happen? You expect the TV to come on. Guess what? It come on. If you want to see SportsCenter channel 46, and you press 46 and OK or select, what do you expect to come on the TV? SportsCenter. And guess what show up? SportsCenter. They got the concept of creating a remote from the Bible. See, God is tied to all of this. You better understand what I'm trying to tell you now. The Bible says...
Somebody asked me the other day, what did I learn about myself from the highs and lows of my life. The highest point of my life and the lowest point of my life, what did I learn about myself? And I said, I learned that I don't let the highs and the lows affect me too much. Because we're gonna have wins, we're gonna have losses. We're gonna have successes, we're gonna have failures. We're gonna have good nights, we're gonna have bad nights. We're gonna have good relationships, we're gonna have bad relationships. We're gonna have good ideas and bad ideas. We're gonna make money, we're gonna lose money. All these things are gonna happen. And if you oscillate emotionally up and down drastically, it's gonna be problematic. So finding a good, stable, centered way to be and look at the world and take everything that you see with a little bit of a grain of salt and don't get swayed too drastically in one direction or the other, you're going to be okay. And if I was to try and sum up some of this idea about being a man or being a good human, it's like those books. I wrote a book called Extreme Ownership. That, number one, take responsibility for what you're doing. Take ownership of your world. Take ownership of your life. There's number one. Number two, the second book, Dichotomy of Leadership. Be balanced. Be balanced. Don't be extreme. Extreme. Look, you have to sometimes get out there in the fringes a little bit. Occasionally, you probably had some business situations where you're like, all right, I got to let go half of my staff right now. That's an extreme move, but that's how we're going to start. Do you have to do that sometimes? Yes, you do. But don't let that be where you live. Live in the center. Live in a stable area. And then finally, discipline equals freedom.
Listen to me. It's not what makes it hard is your lack of belief that it can happen for you. The fact of it is, though, it's very doable. See, but you got to change, though. If you keep doing what you've been doing, you're going to keep getting what you've been getting. So if you're at a place in your life and you ain't happy with it, you have to change some things. But you have to make a conscientious decision that you're going to change. And it's not dependent on anybody else. It don't matter what your mama think. It don't matter what your coworkers think. It don't matter what your siblings think. It don't matter what your children think. It don't matter.
It seems like, especially with confidence, right, or self-esteem, there's a relationship between confidence and competence. Mm-hmm. So what you're looking to do is try and have what you believe you can do be ahead of what you can do. Right. Now, you're not looking for it to be delusional. You don't want it to be able to believe that you can do something like fly, right? But you need to have a relationship between the two. But what people are asking for is for their confidence to be so far ahead of their competence that, or without having even been competent at anything in the beginning. And that's just delusion. That's fantasy.
If you do the thing in spite of being fearful of doing the thing, that is courage. And if you don't do the thing, even though you felt like doing the thing, that is cowardice. And I think that motivation and patience are exactly the same. If you're patient, despite not feeling patient, that is patience.
Yes.
That is how it works.
Because the more discipline you have in your life, the more freedom you will end up with. So if you lack the discipline to exercise and eat healthy, you will end up being a slave to disease. If you lack the discipline to work hard, save your money, you will end up a slave to finances. If you lack the discipline to manage your time correctly, you will end up with no free time. If you have self-discipline, if you have the discipline to save your money and work hard and invest your money properly, if you have the discipline to manage your time correctly and not waste a bunch of time, if you have the discipline to exercise and eat healthy, you will end up with freedom. And I know it's a counterintuitive, it's contrarian, but I've seen this over and over and over again. If you want freedom in your life, you have to have discipline.
You can do anything that you want to do. For example, as I've told you before, I lived in the back of an old car. I taught myself to read and write. So if you're young, don't give up. Don't say the world is just against me. That's not true. I taught myself to read and write. I've had 5 books published. I went to college, got a little bit of college. I've studied scripture for many, many years. I've raised 5 children. So a person can accomplish anything that they want.
Because if you started diets and you failed, and you started working out and you failed, if you just make it longer every time before you fail, you're still making progress and you're still doing something that everyone else isn't doing.
Yeah.
And that is the biggest meta indicator that you possibly can, is if because everyone sucks. Like, so many people are mediocre. Like, half of the United States is in debt. They don't even have they're negative net worth. Just saying different than that, the bar isn't high.
It seems like, especially with confidence, right, or self-esteem, there's a relationship between confidence and competence.
Mm-hmm.
So what you're looking to do is try and have what you believe that you can do be ahead of what you can do.
Right.
Now, you're not looking for it to be delusional. You don't want it to be able to believe that you can do something like fly, right? But you need to have a relationship between the two. But what people are asking for is for their confidence to be so far ahead of their competence that, or without having even been competent at anything in the beginning. And that's just delusion. That's fantasy.
And that was when, like, the reality of the situation of, like, there was no escape. There was no one who was going to come to save me. And I couldn't blame my dad. I couldn't blame my mom. I was the one who had chosen this life. But the alternative was that I had to go back to my father, a failure, and have him look me in the eyes and say, I told you. And come here, don't worry about it. I told you this gym stuff, this fitness stuff, this starting your own business, it's for later. It's fine. Just go back. Hey, you've got this great degree. Just go to the business school to do the thing. And I knew exactly what had happened. But what would have happened after that is that for the rest of my life, he would have had absolute authority over everything that I did. And that felt like death. And so that was what I ran away from when I was in that moment. Like, whenever I felt like my back was against the wall and I didn't know what to do, and it felt like the Instagram reels of, like, the motivation weren't going to get me through what I was going through, because no one cared that I was sleeping alone. I let them know I'm sleeping on the floor. And a month later, when you're still sleeping on the floor, everyone's like, don't care. Like, great. You're pursuing your dream, right?
You're a man. You are a man. Stand up and be a man. Make the hard decisions, make the sacrifices, make the unpopular decisions, and become comfortable in your own skin.
People are driven way more by fear of insufficiency than they are with some well-balanced, perfect desire to just maximize their greatness in life. Like, the activation energy for almost everybody is, I'm scared I might be a piece of shit. What? Hang on. Oh God, I might be a piece of shit. I genuinely might be a piece of shit. I need to go and do something so outrageous that I can't be a piece of shit. There's no way that it could happen. I might be a coward. Oh my God, what can I do to stop myself from being a coward? That's the activation energy.
It's funny because if you regress fear to its most basic form, it's death. And death is the greatest motivator. And, like, you can prove it in a simple example. It's like if I all of a sudden go up to anybody on the street and I put a gun in their head and I say, point a gun at their head and I say, go do this thing, they'll go do it. But if I say, you can have anything you want if you do this, they're willing to go 10 times harder with a gun in their face to not die. And so if you take fear and regress it all the way down to its basis form, like, that's what the insecurity is. Like, if they think I won't be enough, and if they don't think I won't be enough, then this won't happen. If this won't happen, I'll be alone and I'll be dead. Right? Like, if you just regress it all the way down, like, that's all it is. And so, like, the biggest achievers in life, I think, have most directly tied them not doing whatever it is that they want to do to death, whether they're consciously aware of it or not. And then that's what motivates them harder. Also means that I have to go through the circumstances that would create that man, which means that if I have unbelievable big dreams and big goals, then I have to go through hard times. It's like hate. The hard times are a requisite for success. And so if you're going through hard times right now, it means that you're on the path to success. And it's not that you're on the wrong path. It's the feeling of being on the right path.
I don't like my job. I'm miserable there. Okay. Does that mean I walk in tomorrow morning and say, hey, boss, I hate it here, I quit? No, it doesn't mean that. It means I say, okay, I'm gonna start putting my resume together. I'm gonna start checking out LinkedIn. I'm gonna start seeing what qualifications I might need that could improve my ability to get a new job. Once I've done that, I'm gonna start sending out my resume. I'm gonna start building some relationships with some people. And now I look up and I get another job offer. So I didn't make a crazy short-termed emotional decision. I made a slow, progressive, iterative decision-making process that led me from a situation that I didn't like to an opportunity that seems more promising. And this could apply to just about anything.
I love this game. I live this game. There's 1,000 other guys waiting in the wings who are